Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm always glad to be here with you, checking in on this Wednesday. You knew I was going to do it. Well, Wednesday's my normal day anyway, but after that so-called State of the Union last night, yeah. Did not. I tried, you all. I knew better. I tried. I lasted maybe 30 minutes and I couldn't do it. But I also spent a lot of time checking in on a lot of things that were happening, streaming, the Move On and Midas Touch. There were a lot of other things, as you all know, the People's Union, State of the Union, and some powerful speeches and appearances. Just Summer Lee among many others, right? I know you all probably checked that out, but it was really interesting too, the way we knew it was going to happen, that there was all of this debate around what the Democrats should do, right? Don't even get me started on Hakeem Jeffries right now, but this idea of, should you go and just sit still and be stone faced? Should you participate, get out on the mall and participate? Like there were all of these other ideas about what to do. In some, I think it really spoke to what Spirit's been talking about, you all, that politics is no longer as usual. And so we are going to see, the guidance I'm getting, and maybe many of you as well, we're going to see these differences. We're going to see these sort of factions, but the messaging overall among these factions are the same, which is resistance, which is a need for change, which is this current administration and the dissatisfaction among the American people as a whole, not happening, right? And I think we saw that in every instance. Certainly some highlights in for those who were in the chambers last night. Let's give props to Al Green, who once again, just as he did last year, he showed up with his sign, Black people aren't apes. We had Representative Ilhan Omar, clapped back, while he was speaking, and said what she said without fear. She is such an incredible energy. We had, what else? I put down a couple of things. Al Green, Ilhan Omar, Abigail Spanberger took her 12 minutes to dismantle so much of what it took him almost 2 hours to spew out, and all of that. So yeah, she did her job, moderate. She was on point, on task. 12 minutes she handled her business, so I thought that was a highlight. Talked about the People's Union and how nicely that came together. And can we just think, uh, Amy Coney Barrett, her face, we are going to see a meme of that, right? Forever and ever, amen. Like, that was not a poker face. She was not trying to hide it. It was almost like you could just see her crawling out of her skin, right? Not giving her too many props. We've seen her weeble and wobble. One time it looks like she's starting to get over with our liberal girls and come to, more bipartisan understanding of the Constitution. And then she'll flip and do something completely contrary to that, whether it's out of fear, whatever. We know we know how this game is being played right now with threats and fear and intimidation. And she apparently, sometimes she appears to have caved into that. But last night she sat there with a look on her face that was no mistaking where she was coming from. As the old saying, if looks could K to the LL, there would have been an issue last night. So had to mention that. And finally, on a high note, yesterday we had special elections in Pennsylvania, and once again, Democrats outperformed and have maintained its state election, state house. I believe it was 2 state house seats that were won by Democrats, so they can continue to keep their lead in the state house in Pennsylvania. So those were all thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. It was a night spirit set of they literally said it was the Puppet Master's zombie apocalypse. I was like, what? I was like, I gotta write that down so I can remember it, right? They said clearly it was the Puppet Master's zombie apocalypse. Those were the words I heard distinctly and clear. And I get it. The zombies were Congress. That whole, up and down, up and down. Somebody had on Threads this morning that there were, I don't know if this was a true thing or they were being sarcastic, but they said there were 9 members, GOP members of Congress, who had to go to the doctors because their knees were hurting this one from having to get up and down so many times. That was really interesting. So zombies were definitely Congress, and the puppets, unfortunately, were people like the members of the USA Olympic hockey team who came, and that whole production. It really was reality TV. Bottom line, didn't have a damn thing to do, if you ask me, with the anything presidential, and truly being a governmental function on to discuss policy and more serious matters with the American people. It was a production. It was theater all night long, right? So, many puppets. Unfortunately, the horrific stories that were shared and people who were paraded out to bolster his commentary on, yay, we got rid of DEI, yay, we're gonna, continue to go after these horrible illegal immigrants. Puppets, really being used as puppets. Two things now I want to get to the cards with you all. Two things that want to get some deeper insight on and see what's up. He said that JD Vance is now in charge of some, what did he call it? A war on fraud. A war on fraud. Lean into that, you all, because check it out. A lot of what happened in Minnesota, correct me if I'm wrong, was precipitated by this so-called discovery of, however much welfare fraud, right? And so they use that as a pretext to go into Minnesota and just do all the things that we've seen be done. So a war on fraud, supposedly to deal with welfare issues or public spending issues. We've seen how that played out. We watched what happened in Minnesota. It is a gateway to send in agents to take over cities and target those cities. Now, up until now, a large part of that, the responsibility for that is in Trump's face, right? He's the picture of that. Now you've got Vance with his aspirations in 2028, if not before, depending on what happens with Trump. Now he's going to own it. He's going to be the face of it, because now his mission, he is now in charge of the war on fraud. He has been given access, we understand. I don't know who it's going to be yet, but he is being given a dedicated assistant U.S. attorney. Don't know who that is yet. But the deal here is that whoever that is, that this assistant U.S. attorney that's going to work directly with Vance, JD, on this war on fraud, is not going to have to report to, we're being told, reportedly, not going to have to report to Blondie or Blanche or Todd Blanche. This is a direct line to JD. Again, did Trump set JD up for a political landmine? There we got it. Spirit, please show me JD Vance's future, especially as it relates to this war on fraud, now that he's being told he will take over domestically. JD Vance, war on fraud. Page of Swords at the bottom. So this is the beginning of his messaging. It's giving him a new platform that he's hoping he will be able to utilize politically to his favor. Seven of Swords. Why are we not surprised, right? Anything connected to, with JD, there's going to be some deceit there, right? So the premise, I think Spirit is confirming, the premise of them using this supposedly as a check on spending and a check on government funds, but we know how it played out in Minnesota. And that's the deal. The Magician at the bottom, I'm doing a Celtic cross. The Magician at the bottom, twisting the facts, creating scenarios where they don't exist, creating fraud or the appearance of fraud where it doesn't exist. So that's the foundation of this misinformation and betrayal. Seven of Swords. There's a warrior in the background here, Kimicho. I'm not familiar with him. This is I love the deck. I love the design on it. Yakuza Tarot, for those of you who are interested. But I'm not familiar with him. He looks like a governmental leader, almost like a Hierophant. I'm going to cross him. Recent past. Judgment. Okay. this is like a government leader. I'm figuring this is Vance's role and judgment, trying to recent past. So designing this so-called mission of JD Vance to say, we need you to bring awareness, greater awareness to this issue of fraud. Seven of Swords that doesn't really exist, but magician that we're going to make it appear. Do whatever you got to do to lend credence to this. And speaking of Minnesota, I don't even recall seeing the bottom line of that. There may have been some questions around spending, but and who was reaping the benefits, but some wholesale what it turned out to be, and certainly to justify what we saw happen. But that's the plan. Above, the Ace of Wands, confirmation. So he's going to go in, or he's going to start to look at these Democratic states, where else he can go, bolster and bluster his way, Vance, to try and plant seeds. Seven of Wands, going to do it, being given the direct orders to do it. But I also feel like this is the bravery of the people. This is in the near future. And I feel like Seven of Wands is a card of courage. And it's also, some people call it the stand your ground card, right? I think this is going to be the resistance that he gets met with, Vance is going to get met with as he goes into these states, because there's already a playbook. We've already, people have already seen what happened in Minnesota. We know now that this issue of going in on the pretext of fraud to didn't justify bringing in agents. There's a Ten of Swords. He's afraid. Vance is afraid, but the people are afraid as well. This works both ways. Because he knows that this is a big, talk about, Spirit said, a political landmine. This is a big risk to his career. Because now it's his face on what happens and what comes out of this. The Queen of Swords. I'm getting Susie Wiles vibes here. But this could also be a female or multiple female Democratic governors. Because the governors are going to be on red alert. When he gets ready to start coming into these states and set the stage for this war on fraud, no, there's going to be so much opposition to that from women. And the Six of Pentacles in the hopes and fears. I think this speaks to when speaking of the potential government leaders, female, perhaps governors, when they know he's coming, they're going to try and negotiate with him and say, to try and cut it off at the pass before he can even ratchet things up to the point where, okay, now we're getting ready to send in agents. And the outcome, Spirit, death. This is the end of his career. And Spirit has said repeatedly in different ways over basically the past year or so. Vance's political career was never going to go very far, or certainly not very far for very long. So we've got the death card. I do want to get a clarifier on that. JD Vance and how this war on fraud, temperance. He's going to walk an interesting line between trying to satisfy Trump, and I just heard Stephen Miller, who we know is behind so much around this everything that's happened with immigration. So he's going to try and walk that line. But I also wonder, I'm getting a health issue here, because temperance is also a card that comes up very often in regards to health. And that death card, I think this is not just his political career that's at stake, talking about a political landmine, but I wonder the tower. Yeah. All right. Look at that. 3. The outcome, 3 majors come together. Death, temperance, and the tower. This is going to take a toll on him because remember, the thing with JD Vance is none of this is really even who he is. He's like a piece of the spirit showing me like a ball of Play-Doh, right? He just morphs into whatever shape he needs to take in the given moment because the thing for him is just trying to ascend to power, to ascend to recognition, to ascend to some sense of going from this hillbilly, whatever he said he was, to now I'm this guy. And it's not him. It'll never be him. So I think we can leave that there. He's been set up for a political landmine, you all. And now whatever happens as a result of whatever this plan is, this war on fraud and going into democratic states, is going to blow back on him. Now it's not just Trump's face on all of it. Certainly even bypassing Kristi Noem and that whole crew. This is on him. Tower, death, temperance. Think about it. All right. Second thing that came out yesterday that Spirit really talked to me about this morning was Marco Rubio. He, as we understand it, is going to be in St. Kitts today. Meeting with leaders throughout the Caribbean. Why? He apparently had a closed session with what they call it, the Gang of 8, prior to the State of the Union in regards to Iran. They came out of that, we understand, not happy at all. So that's like a any day now situation. We know it. But why shift from that immediately now to taking this trip to the Caribbean and sitting with these people for various nations for a summit in St. Kitts? Part 2 of what I think is going on behind the guidance I'm getting, what's going on behind what Trump has told JD he's got to do on the domestic end, this war on fraud, which we know what that really means, getting more deportations, getting more, justifying more agents in cities, is Marco trying to set it up on the other end to have some place to put them, because there is this resistance to detention centers. Not saying that there aren't any, we know there are, and there will be. But there has also been some deals where they tried to purchase buildings and people have said no. Cities and landowners and real estate have said no, you can't have it. Is he going back? Is Rubio going out here to try and canvass folks and strong arm some folks into making them agree to take people who are deported from here, take immigrants who are deported? Spirit, Marco Rubio, is his intention to try and strong arm these nations in the Caribbean to take immigrants deported from the United States? Here they come. All right. King of Swords. That's him out here talking. 5 of Wands. He's expecting resistance and conflict to it, but 7 of Cups. He wants to try and give them multiple options, basically to say, you don't want a conflict with us, 5 of Wands, and this is going to be the resistance that he's, at this point, Marco Rubio is not going to show up anywhere, and certainly not in among Latin nations and be greeted with wide open arms. Like the suspicion is already there. So he's going in. Here's what we need you to do. The devil. Spirit's talking. Wow. Chaining, bondage, detainees, the capturing of immigrants to put them in a sense of bondage, detain them, and the threats of, I don't know if this is economic repercussions, military problems, like look what we did in Venezuela. You make us unhappy. We're bigger than you. Temperance comes again. This is sort of an art of the, I hate to even use the term art of the deal situation, where on the face of it, he's going to try and say, listen, we've got our objective, you've got yours. We know that's the energy in temperance, where you've got, sort of that polarity. And then how do we bring that together? But that's coming on top of the devil. So there is no deal, essentially. And then we have the world. Ooh, Spirit is coming with these major arcana today. This Yakuza Tarot does not play. This is world domination, or a different. Rubio thinks that he can, in the face of losing so much influence and respect worldwide, he's going to go and try and strong arm and muscle in terms of more world domination where he can, to utilize and try and intimidate these leaders in the Caribbean, throughout the Caribbean. And there's the Queen of Pentacles. I don't know who that is. That feels like one of them that he's going to talk to, one of the leaders that he'll talk to or interface with at this summit. And the Emperor, because I'm here on behalf of Trump. And so you know what that means. He's basically been given his marching orders by Trump, just as JD has on the domestic side. So you all, that's the deal. I think keep an eye out for that. There's this twofold situation, that because right now there was so much emphasis in that speech last, you call it a speech, but there was so much emphasis around pushing for this agenda of immigration. The economic side of it, oh, we're doing so good, everything that we're doing, we're just gold. Like, he knows that's going to get dismantled, and he knows there's not a lot that he can do to bolster that. He knew that was a lot of the puppet master. But this is what people will see with their own eyes. The continued, whatever happens in American cities, whatever happens to deportees and where they go. Already so many of them have been lost, right? So there's a lot of that coming on as well. The two of them, Rubio and JD, who have even been rumored, is that going to be a joint ticket for 2028? Man, they're going to come away from all of this done. Look at how those cards came today. All right, last thing I want to look at, Kamala Harris. Let me shuffle the deck. Let me spray a little bit on that. I don't even want that energy on her. All right. We're hearing more from Kamala Harris. I understand today, I'm taping this in the morning, so it will have aired probably by the time you see this in the afternoon. But Aaron Parnas, who's been gangbusters on Threads, right, and Substack. Aaron Parnas is apparently sitting down with Kamala Harris today at 11:30 Eastern time. I'm not sure if it's going to be on YouTube or he's just going to be posting about it on Threads, but she has agreed to an interview with him in response to give her response to the State of the Union address last night. And he's asking for questions from people. Two things that have been coming up is, of course, is she willing to take on Gavin Newsom? Because we know Gavin's a done deal. He's out here on his book tour. He's a done deal. He's making all the moves. So is she willing to take on Gavin Newsom, right? That's going to be an issue because clearly that's what he's going to do. Is she ready to come back for 2028 and take on, knowing that she'll have to take on Gavin? And the other part is she going to address election fraud 2024? Like, we know now some stuff happened in with Musk with the absentee ballots and more. Across the country in these swing states with the voting machines, etc. And everybody was so frustrated because it was like, why isn't she or Biden, like, why isn't somebody doing something about this? We all know it. Why isn't something happening? Is she going to address that? I think she's going to have to at some point. If she's really going to mount another campaign, if that's not going to go away. Spirit, Kamala Harris, what's her plan moving forward? Is she, first of all, is she seriously considering another run? Is she considering another run? The Tower. It's an interesting card to come at the bottom, but I also think that's a breakthrough for her. Pluto, Mars kind of, kind of energy. She's ready to disrupt, basically. She knows that if she comes back, she's going to disrupt everything. She's certainly going to disrupt Gavin's plan and Shapiro's plan and whoever else is making up, is thinking about it at this point. Mark Kelly. The Eight of Wands, we're going to be hearing a lot from her. She's got some things to say. Spirit, is Kamala Harris coming back in a real way? Is she ready to do this? The King of Swords. I'm wondering if that's Newsom. Is she coming back and taking on Newsom? The Nine of Swords. She's got some fears. As brave and as, courageous as she is, she does have some fears around that. But I also feel like that could be him, because I pulled that right behind this man. Spirit, is this Newsom afraid of her coming back? Is this Gavin Newsom afraid that she'll make this move? Six of Pentacles. He's hoping like the heck that she doesn't. Six of Pentacles being a card of give and take. Let's figure this out. Let's negotiate. Who's the best between the two of us? And I think this is maybe Gavin trying to say, listen, sis, do you really want to take the chance again? Potentially suffer that humiliation and embarrassment and just, deflating rejection again. And there's the Five of Wands. There's keep your eye on how things develop between Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris, because I think Kamala, that tower that we started out with, I think Kamala's ready to come in and break it up and break through. Because God knows, if anybody could go through a whole list of I told you so, I told you so, I told you so, it's certainly her. Now, the other thing that she's going to have to address, the code. The Cove. I tell you, this deck, I don't want to take the time up. It's just, it's worded a different way. I'm not sure who the Cove is. Who is this, Spirit? Show me what this means. Oh, the Emperor. Okay. So this is, then the Cove would be, I feel like this is the Hierophant almost, or this is the structure around this administration. She knows the Tower. She knows she can come in and blow things up. She's going to start talking about, we're going to hear more from her. She's definitely coming on strong. Whether that's endorsing other candidates, being a sought after voice in 2026 for the midterms, setting things up. But there's also this contention between she and Gavin Newsom, like, we're gonna have to figure this out. And they know she's coming. Trump and his cabinet. They fear her. Spirit, is that what you're showing me? She's their worst case scenario. Is that what you're showing me here? She is, Kamala Harris is their worst case scenario. King of Wands. Because I don't know whether this is JD or Rubio or a combination of them both coming up right now, but they don't want that smoke. That's who's afraid of her. They are terribly afraid of her. And the Three of Wands, because she is talking to people, she's building or rebuilding and solidifying her coalition. Will she have the backing, adequate backing and funding? Like, will she be able to amass what she needs to launch a really another viable campaign, Spirit? That's what she's worried about. The Ten of Swords, because it starts splitting off. You're going to have, the faction for Newsom and the faction for this one and the faction for that one. So that's what has to be. That's what has to be decided. Can she pull it off again? But, here she comes with the star, right? By the people, for the people, Aquarius. Ready to change things up. That tower in a drastic way and ready to come back again. I'm going to tell you all, I think, but the other thing is, Spirit, will she address the questions of the election? I don't want to close out without going it. Will she address some of the harder questions around election interference? Because she's got it's too far out there. She's got a Ace of Swords. Spirit said, okay, Fefe, calm down. Calm down. She will. She has to. She has to. And she's savvy enough that, to the extent that the hard evidence and the zombie apocalypse Congress is not ready to really take on what is increasingly becoming evidence that this happened, she's going to still find a way to address it. Because she has to. There are too many issues around. Look, you know that you got cheated. We know that you got cheated. You're such a fighter. Why didn't you fight at that time? We're going to hear more about that from her. All right, you all. I guess I will see you back here on Friday. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for your time. Your likes, please. That like and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm, helps more people get the content, and hype if you can. I so appreciate that. And chin up. Meanwhile, chin up. All right? Because I would bet some money today you are neither a zombie or a puppet, right? What you are is a strong person with heart. Keep your shoulders back, sky above you, earth beneath you, keeping you grounded, and spirit within you, your soul within you. Nobody can touch that. All right? I'll talk to you real soon. Bye.